The National Union of Mineworkers in the Western Cape will march to Eskom's provincial headquarters today to protest the privatization of the entity. Newzroom Afrika's Nasiphi is at Bellville in Cape Town to give us an update. Nasiphi, good morning. What is the latest on the ground?
Well, what is on the latest on the ground is that a number of ANC Youth League, including COSATU members, are outside the National Union Workers for Mine here in Bellville, planning to make their way to the Eskom building here in Bellville to hand over a memorandum of demands. And obviously, as you mentioned, one of those demands is to stop the privatization of Eskom. But to talk to us more exactly about these demands that they will be submitting to Eskom, including the Minister of Labour, I'm joined here by Benson Ngenzu. Talk to us about the key demands that you have in this memorandum that you'll be submitting not too long from now.
Thank you very much. I must firstly say today is the national action targeting Eskom, and here in the context of the Western Cape, also the demand of labor. We are saying to our government, to Eskom and the demand of labor, that if this government is the government of the people, by the people and for the people, therefore this government must listen to our people, must listen to the workers in particular. One, Eskom must stop privatizations, and there must be no unbundling as Eskom, because should Eskom be at the hands of the private people, then electricity will be unaffordable for the workers and the poor in this country. And we reject what appears as some form of a sales house in this country, where state-owned enterprises are auctioned to the highest bidder. And we are calling on the CEO of Eskom and the broader management to stop harassing shop stewards of the NUM. And further, if this government is the government of the people, for the people, offices of the Department of Labor must be built across, and particularly in rural parts of the Western Cape, so that it can be accessible. For an example, Nasiphi, right? Workers from Witzenberg or Ceres, a poor worker had to travel to Worcester. A worker from Lensburg has to travel more than 180 kilometers to Beaufort West. Workers from Hermanus have to travel to Strand. That must come to an end, and that the Department of Labor must see to it that the Health and Safety Inspectorate is being beefed up and has the capacity and irregularly visit workplaces, so that all companies, irrespective of their capacity, they can be compliant.
Benson, have you engaged Eskom on some of these complaints and grievances that you have as SACP, NUM, including COSATU and the Youth League that is here in presence?
The regional chair of the NUM is here, right? But I can say without fear of contradictions that the NUM has been raising these issues with Eskom, right? At a level of bargaining, at the political level as well. And that is why this national march, the main march, is going to make is in Gauteng, others are in KZN, Mpumalanga, as well as here. And the message is clear: do not sell our state-owned companies. Transform the entity. It must serve our people, not to unbundling, because unbundling is a precursor to privatization, and we are not going to allow that. And this government, we insist, is banned to auctioning all these state-owned. And I must make this point that the brazen and strong posture this government is taking, and in particular neoliberal forces, suggest that there are elements amongst us who are complicit. Neoliberalism and austerity must be rejected, and this march seeks to reject neoliberalism, seeks to reject austerity in this country. And lastly, it's important to make this point that today these workers who are here, right, many of them were dismissed last year, and their cases have not been set down till now. You know why? It is because of the budget cuts, and that a number of commissioners at the CCMA has been reduced, and that is not in the interest of the workers. It is in the interest of big business, owners of construction companies, of mines, as well as Eskom. That must come to an end. That's the message.
So you're saying the message is clear, no to the unbundling of Eskom or privatization of Eskom, including the Labour Minister obviously making more Labour offices in particularly places in rural communities. But let's talk more about the Labour Department, that you will be submitting this memorandum to them. But what are some of the other things or the burning issues that these workers have for the Labour Minister, looking for him to attend to?
Is proclamation of the wage agreement, right, for the civil engineering sector of the construction. That's one. Two, there are employers who run around asking for exemption, not to pay wages, not to pay bonuses. And we are saying, listen, Department of Labour, listen, Minister, COVID-19 must not be used as a convenient excuse not to pay bonuses and not to pay wages. And the third point related to many incidents of fatalities in the construction industry, right? And this office of the NUM and us as the SACP, right, we took the matter up till today. Some of the cases have not been resolved, and we are deeply interested as to why, what is wrong. And thus we are saying possibilities exist that there might be some health and safety inspectors who are collaborating with employers, and thus as the party now, we want to submit and say there must be probing of the health and safety inspectorate here in the Department of Labour so that workers can be saved. Actually, there are also workers who haven't received their tails, yet employers, right, claimed, and we have names of those, but workers are saying we haven't been responded to, and even the union itself. And if that department, if this government is the government of the people, for the people, then must respond speedily to the demands of the workers.
Thank you so much, Benson Nganzu, Secretary of the SACP in the Western Cape, saying that if this government is a government for the people, then they should be responding speedily to their demands, which is the two memorandums that will be submitted today to Eskom, obviously calling on for the end of privatization, saying that the workers behind me that will be part of this march to Eskom will be the ones ultimately suffering should that go ahead, including a memorandum of demands to the Minister of Labour, calling on for him to make more offices of the Labour Department in many rural towns, including the stopping of the budget cut to CCMA to obviously tend to some of the grievances of workers. And he also speaks about some of the other issues that are plaguing the workers within the engineering sector. But we will be keeping you up to date in regards to the march and when the memorandum has been submitted and whether or not they will be receiving a response or anyone coming out from these two departments to receive these memorandum of demands. Back to you.